All right, let's just dive right into this explainer because we are about to immediately challenge literally everything you think you know about reality. Seriously, we're exploring this fascinating and, frankly, pretty radical concept called reverse thinking. Written by Xu Feng, the source material basically suggests that our conventional way of viewing the world, it's a trap. It's an invisible net, and to break free, we have to flip our perspectives completely upside down.
So, to start shattering that conventional wisdom, we actually have to embrace a few wild paradoxes where opposites are, well, exactly the same thing. Think about this. Not having is having, and having is not having. The text argues that the richer you are, the more distressed you might become by your possessions. Meanwhile, the less you own, the freer you actually are. And this leads us to one of the most profound paradigm shifts in the entire text. The author asserts that the ultimate objective of life isn't just approaching some dark end, but it's a journey towards another world. It's kind of like, think of human society as this grand womb. Just as a fetus is born into the world, we pass through the gateway of death to reach another realm. So by this logic, the living shouldn't mourn, but actually rejoice in waking up from an illusion.
Okay, let's move right into section 1, deconstructing space, time, and the body. To start deconstructing reality, let's do a quick spatial thought experiment. Imagine holding a globe right now. If you are standing in Oslo, Norway, and you picture someone way down in Cape Town, South Africa, who's on top and who's on the bottom? Right, conventional thinking says someone has to be upside down. Yet, if you visit Cape Town, everyone is walking around perfectly heads up. It just exposes that our absolute concepts of up and down are entirely dependent on where we happen to be standing. Building on that exact idea, the text asks us to consider a Boeing 747 flying from Johannesburg to Hong Kong. Because the altitude stays constant, we experience this illusion of a perfectly straight path. But the reality? It's a curved journey over a curved Earth. The author actually draws a parallel to Copernicus here, the guy who was burned for defying the so-called fact that the sun revolves around the Earth. The text makes this bold, mind-bending claim that, from a different spatial perspective, planes aren't just soaring up in the sky. They are literally traveling beneath the curve of the Earth. Now, if space is an illusion, the author argues that time is an even bigger one. Time is just this specter we created to torment ourselves. We sigh over turning 40, we mourn the fleeting years, and we let the clock totally consume our happiness. But the text firmly asserts that time does not truly exist in the universe. It's 100% a man-made construct. Think about how we build an absolute prison out of arbitrary slices of life. We wake up in a total panic just because the clock says 7 a.m. We anxiously plot out these random dates years in the future. To prove time is just an illusion, the author asks, have you ever dreamt of deceased relatives? The text suggests they aren't gone in the flow of time at all. They've simply shifted to another space, another realm of existence. And this radical subjectivity, it extends right down to our physical bodies. The source argues that your nutrition is dictated entirely by what you believe you need, not by some shallow biology. If you firmly believe you need 3 big meals a day, well, missing one will leave you starving. But if you sincerely believe 1 egg and a glass of milk is enough, it actually will be. The text even claims that if you believe you can subsist on no food at all, absorbing energy directly from the cosmos, you tap into the mechanics of animal hibernation and attain the wisdom of ancient masters like Bodhidharma. Which really showcases what the author views as the terrifying yet miraculous power of the mind. The source provides this really striking hypothetical. If you obsessively fear you have stomach cancer every single day, a diagnosis might soon confirm it. Conversely, the text claims that firmly rejecting a lung cancer diagnosis with absolute sincerity can actually cause it to dissipate. By breaking free from negative inductions and what the author calls shallow science, they argue human life could seamlessly span up to 200 years. All right, shifting gears a bit, let's move on to section 2, the invisible ropes of society. Moving from the physical world over to the social one, the text claims that every single one of us carries a heavy cross. We are bound by these invisible ropes. It's like an elephant held by a tiny thin string, a farmer tied to a small plot of land, a worker bound to a workshop, an intellectual trapped by a meager salary, or unhappy couples enduring a lifetime of misery just for the sake of traditional virtues. And the craziest part? We become totally numb to these ropes simply because we look around and see everyone else living the exact same way. The tragedy of choosing comfort over true freedom is perfectly captured in this parable about a flock of wild swans. So, some of these swans were captured and fed by humans. They grew fat, got super used to the easy life, and when their migrating siblings returned to encourage them to fly south, the captured swans flat out refused. They actually urged their wild siblings to stay, asking, "Why bother flying back and forth when we have guaranteed food, drink, and housing right here? Being free and easy just can't compare." But this heartbreaking outcome really proves the danger of the invisible net, because by the third year, those wild siblings returned to a total massacre. The human masters had slaughtered the uncles for guests, taken the aunts away, and left a niece crippled by a dog bite. When the wild swans offered to rescue the survivors, the poor nephew just looked at them and asked, "Where can we go?" Once you become dependent on society's invisible ropes, breaking free seems completely impossible because you literally cannot imagine surviving without the very things that are killing you. Which brings us to our final part. Section 3. Essence over empty form. For our final paradigm shift, let's look at how humanity actually interacts with the spiritual world. The author observes the incredible devotion of people everywhere. You've got Tibetan Buddhists and Muslims on arduous pilgrimages, Zen disciples in deep, silent meditation, Christians fervently seeking the Holy Spirit, Hindus burning incense, Africans praying devotedly in the rain. Now, the text acknowledges these are beautiful, honest people, but it poses a highly challenging question. Can these fixed rituals and forms alone truly lead to liberation? The author argues a resounding no, drawing on teachings like the Diamond Sutra. Seeking the divine purely in physical form, meaning material things you can actually see and touch, like a physical temple or a carved statue, is considered the wrong path entirely. True worship, the text asserts, requires the divine to be in your heart. Without that inner essence, traveling thousands of miles just to burn incense at a physical temple is, well, entirely useless. And this illustrates exactly why empty rituals fail. The author describes the universe essentially as a giant networked computer program. You cannot deceive this system. Every single word, deed, and thought is recorded directly onto our bodies as information waves and invisible light colors. Even in the dead of night, your true nature is constantly interacting with other dimensions. Your spiritual future is entirely determined by this invisible data you emit, meaning you can never, ever fake your way to liberation. So as we wrap up this explainer, I'm going to leave you with one final lingering thought from the text. The author posits that the you experiencing this present moment, it is not your true self. Your true self is actually slumbering in another world, just as the you in a dream is totally unaware of the person sleeping in bed. Reverse thinking isn't just some fun mental exercise. It is a call to abandon the illusions of time and space, break the invisible net, and finally wake up. So, are you ready?